everybody, and welcome live to the AT&T Center, where tonight the Spurs get a double dose of Denver when they play host to the Nuggets again. That's after they lost to the Nuggets in Denver on Saturday night, 126-101 for their third loss in a row, dropping the Silver and Black to 5-5. It's after they started the season as one of the hottest teams in the NBA, winning 5 out of their first 7. Now they're trying to snap out of that losing streak tonight with a second chance against the Nuggets. How does first draft pick Jeremy Sohan feel about his first 10 games where he had to miss one due to flu-like symptoms?
I got ill, so that was a little tough, but overall I think it's been good. Just, keep on playing. 72 games left. It's a long season, so the only way is up in my eyes.
All right, here is a matchup tonight. Note the late tip time, 8:30 early highlights for tonight on the night beat. Congratulations to the UTSA Roadrunners, and they're still undefeated in Conference USA after their big dramatic double overtime victory against UAB. That was the Roadrunners' first ever win against the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and it didn't come easy. This was their record third overtime game this season to improve to 5-0 in conference play, 7-2 overall. The Roadrunners were able to take the lead in the second overtime when Frank Harris found Joshua Cephas on the 14-yard touchdown pass, and then the defense forced an incompletion on fourth down, and that was ball game. UTSA wins 44-38 in double overtime, but it came at a price. Head coach Jeff Traylor revealed today they have lost wide receiver J.T. Clark for the rest of the season after suffering a torn anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee.
He'll have surgery this week. It's season ending, recovery time. Best case would be 6 months. Worst case would be 10 months.
And we wish him the best. The Roadrunners have 3 games left, 2 at home starting this Saturday when they host Louisiana Tech at 2:30 in the Alamo Dome. After beating 13th-ranked Kansas State in Manhattan Saturday night, 34-27 for their first road victory of the season, the Texas Longhorns have put themselves in a position to compete for the Big 12 championship. Now it's 6-3 overall and 4-2 in the league. Play just like Baylor. But in order to accomplish that, the Horns will now 18th ranked will have to hand the 4th-ranked TCU Horned Frogs their first loss of the season this Saturday night at Royal Memorial Stadium. And get this, the odds makers have UT as 7-point favorites to win. And remember, head coach Steve Sarkisian hired former TCU head coach Gary Patterson and was asked if he's been working nonstop on this matchup.
I think that program's in the place that it's in because of the work that he did, and that should not go unnoticed. A lot of those kids on that roster he recruited, and it's a very talented roster. But we're lucky to have him on our team, and I know he's doing his normal deal, what he does throughout the week to help get us prepared.
All right, kickoff time between TCU and Texas in Austin is set for 6:30 p.m. And by the way, you can see that game live right here on KSAT12 Saturday night. Remember, this is the first week of the high school football playoffs. That means expanded big game coverage, playoff coverage, if you will. And one of the big games will be this Friday night. That is when number 6 Reagan plays host to number 10 New Braunfels. This is for the Bi-District Championship. We'll have a big preview of that big game for you tonight on the night beat, as well as, of course, more Spurs coverage. Live from the AT&T Center, Greg Simmons, KSAT12 Sports.
All right, thank you, Greg.
Still to come here at 6, a big jump from an Air Force base to now a tech hub, but that is exactly what Port SA is known for. In our latest KSAT Explains, we'll show you how this came to be and what's waiting in the wings. You might think of it as the old Kelly Air Force Base.
But what Port San Antonio is today is a far cry from how it started. Yet the roots of innovation are still there.
The name Port, of course, suggests a hub, which is still partly true. Yeah. In this case, that explains, we show you how Port SA is changing.
There's a misconception that this is some sort of strange, off-the-grid federal enclave.
Port San Antonio on the city's southwest side shares a runway with Lackland Air Force Base. Laced in between modern buildings are old military barracks, airplane hangars, and brick roads, all a reminder of what once was.
San Antonio is the nexus of everything that the Air Force became.
In March of 1910, the military's first aircraft took its maiden flight at Fort Sam Houston.
Benjamin Falloy basically taught himself to fly using instructions he got from the mail.
Falloy, a U.S. Army general, began teaching others about these new inventions. There were multiple successful flights, but one went terribly wrong. Pilot George M. Kelly, after whom Kelly Air Force Base was named, crashed and died trying to avoid encampment areas on Fort Sam.
They said, no more flying here. This is not really, the base isn't set up for that.
So General Falloy eventually moved his flights to a plot of land on the southwest side.
Kelly was the first Air Force base. It was established in November of 1916.
The base evolved into the nation's largest hub for maintenance, repair, and overhaul. By the 1990s, Kelly Air Force Base was the largest employer in San Antonio.
At one point, there was about 28,000 civil servants and contractors working there.
But virtually overnight, those workers found their paychecks coming from Boeing and Knight Aerospace, not the Air Force. In 1995, the Department of Defense announced a base realignment and closure, or BRAC. The DoD stopped operating the base 6 years later.
Some really forward-looking people said, let's not close it, let's just change the way that we think of it.
The Greater Kelly Development Corporation took charge of the land, renaming it Kelly USA. The new mission was to operate as a landlord while keeping San Antonio's highly trained military workforce. It became an inland port, which still exists in a small way today.
There is the ability to do rail logistics. There is a little bit of air cargo that flies in and out of here on a daily basis.
In 2007, the name was changed to Port San Antonio to reflect that process. But in 2018, new leadership had a new vision. The mission of Port SA became more about transporting ideas than cargo.
We are the center of gravity for cybersecurity, information technology, and aviation, as well as critical infrastructure, not just in San Antonio, but quite possibly in Texas.
So Port San Antonio kept its role as a landlord, but its tenants became more tech-focused. Port SA operates as a political subdivision of the state and is publicly owned, but they don't get tax dollars.
What we do is we borrow against the assets that we own. We make our money through operations, profit and loss, through services that we sell.
Today, 80 different companies and 16,000 employees are located on the campus, both in the public and private sector. According to the state comptroller's office, the port generated $5.6 billion in 2018. Boeing was the first private company to plant roots at Port SA in the late 90s.
Currently, we have 7 programs on site.
Today, this is Boeing's largest operation on the planet.
It's a combination of having access to the facilities we need, the runway we need, but it's really about being tied in with the community. This is the largest freestanding hangar in the world. We have about 1.6 million square feet on this site. We have access to a 12,000-foot runway, so we can fly in any aircraft.
Today, as opposed to 100 years ago, those airplanes are really big flying computers. And so what used to be about purely engine blades and rotors now requires microchips and computer processors and big data.
Much of that new technology is being developed at Port San Antonio through companies like Standard Aero and Chromalloy. But it's not just aerospace.
It's a natural place where we can bounce ideas off of each other.
Plus One Robotics is one of the newest companies on the campus, a local startup focused on making loading and unloading trucks easier. They build robots that can do that job, all monitored by humans via the internet.
So we are the blend of cybersecurity and logistics, and that's the exact same mix of people that are here.
The need for cybersecurity expertise can be found just down the road from Plus One, with over a dozen cybersecurity companies on the campus.
There was this nexus of technology and logistics, but also the ability to grow as quickly as we wanted to.
That interconnection is a big goal for Port SA, not just for the here and now, but also for a new generation of tech talent. The TechPort Arena, opened last year, houses the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology. There's also the WEX Foundation, a space exploration program that involves local middle schoolers.
We've had kids, and we take no credit for their brains, come in and go on to MIT, go on to A&M, go on to Alamo colleges, go on to Palo Alto. And that's what it's about.
One idea that came out of these student-based programs, lunar habitats, pods that are made up of ground-up moon rock, then 3D printed into livable structures on the moon's surface. And that idea is no longer just a theory, it's being brought to life by a San Antonio company called Astroport, which has a partnership with NASA. There are also plans to build a biodome here, a space where researchers can experiment with environments like the moon's surface, and a vertiport.
It's going to be a first of its kind vertiport. So a vertiport is a new airport, currently doesn't exist, to support electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft.
Propelling a long history of flight into the future.
Now, you might have noticed in our video there that the sign at the entrance of the campus now says Techport, not Port SA. We asked the CEO, Jim Perschbach, if he has plans to change the name to Techport, and his answer was, we'll see. You can scan the QR code on your screen here right now to see all of our KSAT Explained stories. You can catch them right here every Monday on the news at 6.
I like Techport.
Got a nice ring to it.
Got a ring to it, yeah. The Texas governor's race is one of 36 that could see a big change after tomorrow's midterm election, along with the Senate and the House. What voters are saying are their top priorities ahead of casting their vote on Election Day. Congress and state houses could look a lot different after this year's midterm elections. 35 Senate seats, all 435 House seats, and 36 governor's races are at stake. Both parties hoping their heavy hitters will get voters out to the polls. President Biden in Maryland tonight rallying for Democratic candidates there. In Ohio, former President Trump stumping for Republican Senate candidate J.D. Vance, who's in a tight race with Democratic Representative Tim Ryan. Polls show 4 other key Senate races still a toss-up: Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona.
Prices are too high, the energy crisis was self-inflicted, and we've got to get back to law and order and common sense.
The more folks that we can get to vote, regardless of who they're voting for, the stronger our democracy is.
More than 40 million people have already cast their early ballots, breaking records for any midterm election. Top of mind for voters, the economy, inflation, crime. Issues a new ABC News Washington Post poll finds most Americans trust Republicans to handle. For Democrats, the top issues are abortion and climate change. See what happens tomorrow. We'll be right back. All right, now to Powerball fever. The entire country dreaming about winning tonight's record $1.9 billion jackpot. 41 consecutive drawings since the last huge winner took home nearly $700 million in California. So what are the chances? Your odds of winning the same. A staggering 1 in 300 million.
For some comparison here, a little perspective, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning and bitten by a shark. The winner can choose the payout over 29 years or take the lump sum. But you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah,
so,
we'll have the winning numbers, of course, tonight on the Night Beat at 10. All right, let's talk weather right now. And the fact that it is humid out there, and I'm ready for some crisper weather.
It's about time.
Crispy.
No, that was the summer.
Yeah, not just my lawn.
Okay,
I'm not talking about just my lawn being crispy.
Different
I'm talking about
crispy.
crispy weather, like a little snappy.
Yeah, snappy. There we go. Yeah, crispy. That's still our lawns, I think. Even with some dampness the past few mornings, still a lot of brown out there, unfortunately. We're still the driest year on record year to date, but we're only 0.05 of an inch shy of 1916. I want to talk about our next cold front. Afternoon temperatures will be going from the 80s down into the 50s. That's going to be by this weekend. Okay, so the rest of this week is mostly going to be in the 80s. Friday's our transitional day, and then Saturday, we're talking high temperatures down in the 50s. So big changes headed our way. You're going to notice them, and that's when you'll have the snappier weather, if you will. Crisp, cool fall air, almost winter-like air, to be honest with you. Let's take a look at our morning low temperature trend. I mean, we're running well above average this week with our morning temperatures upper 60s near 70, considering the average low is 53. But it's this thick humidity in the air that keeps our mornings unseasonably warm. You have to get rid of the humidity in order for that temperature drop, and the cold front's going to get rid of it for the weekend. So by Saturday, we're talking about a morning temperature of about 50. Sunday and Monday will be down in the 40s, so jacket weather for sure just around the corner. And the cold front that's headed our way, it's not even on the map yet. It hasn't even developed. It's likely to develop tomorrow and into Wednesday off to the north of us. But right now, we've got 60s in the Panhandle, even Alpine 67, 80s elsewhere, Laredo 83, Cotulla still 86. 79 Gonzales, and 81 officially in San Antonio right now. So tomorrow morning, one of those mild mornings at 68 degrees here in town, a few degrees lower elsewhere. Kerrville 64, Uvalde and Hondo about 66. Then by the afternoon, we're back into the 80s with a little bit of sunshine periodically, but still the chance of a brief shower here and there tomorrow afternoon. More specifically, 83 on the west side near Lackland, Converse about 81, Lavernia 84, Timberwood Park 80 degrees, and Bernie 79. Here's that high temperature trend. Friday's that transition at about 73 for the afternoon high, and then the bottom falls out. We're going to be noticeably cooler, partially because of that cold front and the cooler air moving in, but also low clouds likely to linger. And when you don't get that sunshine, it's hard to really warm yourself up much. And we get those clouds behind the cold fronts this time of year. This is a real deal cold front. Look at that change from the mid 80s down into the mid 50s. Yes, a real deal fall cold front. Here's a look at some of those light to moderate showers we had earlier today. Widely separated in nature. The big system, the real deal system, that's off in the western U.S. Again, another one dropping in. That's that big counterclockwise circulation in the atmosphere. And this is going to move eastward and help develop that cold front that's going to be dropping southward to affect us. With it, though, not a whole lot of rain. Here's our futurecast. Tonight, the low clouds fill back in, and I think we'll notice a few little drips and drops out there by midnight and especially thereafter. Notice 9 a.m. So through the morning commute, some fog, a little bit of dampness, a few sprinkles, a little bit of drizzle. Then by the noon hour, we start to see some sunshine. Despite some afternoon sun, we could still pop a little shower or two tomorrow afternoon, kind of like what we had out there today. So damp tomorrow morning. Here's a 12-hour forecast. 68 degrees at 6 and 7 a.m. Then by noon, starting to see some sunshine at 77. And by 4 o'clock, we hit 84 degrees with the southeasterly wind at 5 to 15. It's just more of the same. Wednesday and Thursday, no big changes, no big difference. And then Friday, Veterans Day, that's when the cold front moves in. The wind will pick up as well. And then look at that Saturday. A few hit or miss light showers, isolated in nature, cloudy, windy, and 56. I tell you what. Go get the ingredients for some good chili and get that cooking later this week, right?
That does sound good.
Fire up the grill.
Like a winter weekend.
Get an outside fire going, maybe?
Oh, yeah, always. I mean, within the appropriate containment, of course.
Of course.
Obviously, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Adam.
In case you missed it, coming up next.
It is Monday, November 7th.
Not guilty. That's the verdict a jury returned today for a man accused of killing a teenager.
He and his cousin, who has yet to go on trial, were accused of killing 16-year-old Sebastian Diaz back in September of 2020. Diaz's family says they're distraught and saddened by this not guilty verdict. But Duarte's attorneys told Garrett Berger that the jury did follow the law.
Diaz's family sent us a statement saying in part, quote, today's verdict means there is no accountability for the person who murdered Sabby, even though he confessed to being there and pulling the trigger.
San Antonio police are investigating another shooting, this one on the east side around 10 last night. A man was shot in the leg while he was sitting on his porch. This happened near Iowa and Pine Streets, and a neighbor told police that they saw a white vehicle drive by and someone inside fire shots. So far, no arrests have been made.
Ukraine says it's got a new fighting chance in its fight with Russia. New air defense systems are going to work there thanks to donations from the countries of Norway, Spain, and the U.S. The weapons will allow Ukrainian soldiers to shoot down enemy targets in the country's airspace. The United States expedited the two systems in October, so they would arrive there sooner.
Mattress Mac can stuff $75 million under his mattress and sleep easy. He is a furniture store owner in Houston known for betting big on sporting events. Since the Astros won the World Series Saturday night in Houston, he won the $75 million. And true to his form, customers will reap the benefits. Gallery Furniture customers who paid $3,000 or more for a mattress will get their money back.
That is all our time. Thanks so much for watching the news at 6.
We'll see you on the Night Beat at 10. Have a great night.